I will be answering questions from my Korean fans today.
Charming, he'll only do you harm again. I don't mean to meddle, but the devil doesn't settle. No, the devil doesn't bargain.
Hello to all of my Korean fans, and thank you for having me in your amazing country. This has been a spectacular trip, and it's my first time out of the United States since the beginning of the pandemic. It's like this is the best first trip I could have after the pandemic, so I'm having a great time. Thank you all for having me, and for having me on my birthday, too. Woo! Yeah, woo! Where do you usually get your inspiration for songwriting? I normally get my inspiration for songwriting from things in the world that are happening around me. Sometimes when I go to the mall or something, or I visit a new place, I like to just sit on the side of the road or like on a bench somewhere and watch people pass by, and that gives me inspiration. And I feel like I did the same thing during the pandemic, but from the comfort of my house. So I turned on the news or I looked on social media, and I kind of watched the world go crazy, and myself, I went crazy too, and then I wrote about it. So that's where my most recent inspiration has come from. All right, I once gave you a letter telling you about how much this is a heavy one. Okay, I once gave you a letter telling you about how I suffered from domestic violence and how much Must Have Been the Wind meant to me. Unfortunately, I couldn't see you at the Seoul Jazz Festival, but I'm still grateful for you, and I wonder if you read the letter and remember me. I do actually remember reading the letter. I got a letter from somebody the last time I was in Korea in 2019, and I did read all the letters, and it means a lot to me that the music resonated with you, and I'm sorry that you couldn't get a ticket to the show, but I will be back here very soon, and I'm sure we'll be able to reunite, and I appreciate the letter, and I'm happy that it was that my music could be there for you.
I heard glass shatter on the wall in the apartment above mine. First, the thought that I was dreaming. Then I heard the voice of a girl, and it sounded like she'd been crying. Now I'm too worried to be sleeping.
Yeah, it's also crazy to see these questions and stuff, because when you, especially since I've been at home for the last 2 years, you see the streams go up and things online, but it's just like numbers, and it's hard to imagine that there's a real human being behind the music that's being impacted by it, and it's a very special thing, and this helps make it real for me. So I appreciate when people share their stories with me. What's your favorite song from your most recent album? Probably The Devil Doesn't Bargain is my favorite one.
The devil doesn't bargain, he'll only break your heart again. It isn't worth it, darling, he's never gonna change. He'll never be Prince Charming, he'll only do you harm again. I don't mean to meddle, but the devil doesn't settle. No, devil doesn't bargain.
It wasn't initially, but now that I can see that people really like it, it makes me like it more. I'm a sellout. How did you get into singing and making music? I got into making music because I realized that it would be my only potential career path that I could pursue without having to go to college. Both of my parents went to college, and I went to college for about a year, and I was like, this is not for me. And so I suppose I didn't choose singing and songwriting, but it chose me, because after a process of elimination, it was pretty much the only thing that was left. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. So that's how I got into it. How is your dog doing? She's great. She's really good. I love her so much. She's doing great. She's always doing great. And when I'm not doing great, she makes me feel better. So that's the best thing about having a dog. In an interview you did, you recommended fried snake as a must-eat food from Arizona, your hometown. What would you recommend if you were asked the same question right now? Well, the bibimbap that we just had, that's how you say it. It's amazing. I would recommend that to anybody. Also, my favorite food in general is Korean barbecue, because I used to live next to Koreatown in LA, and I used to go every week. And so now the fact that I'm eating Korean barbecue in Korea is pretty crazy. How do you feel about headlining a show on your birthday? It was the coolest thing I've ever done. It was so cool that I felt like it was an out-of-body experience. I'm always touched by your lyrics. Reading them is like reading a novel. Where do you get the inspiration from writing lyrics, and do you have any tips for writing lyrics? So I would say the same as the question before, just from watching the world. And my tips for writing lyrics are get in the habit of writing things down on like a notepad on your phone, and when you're talking to people and they say something that you think is interesting, like a topic or a series of words that you find inspiring, write it down, because you will not remember it, and even if you think you will, you won't. So now sometimes I have like melodies, like while I'm dreaming, their melody will come to me in my dream, and I'll wake up and I either have to convince myself the melody just wasn't that good, or I have to record it into my phone. And so sometimes I wake up half asleep and I have voice notes on my phone, like, but otherwise I don't remember. Okay, how do you come up with all these songs? Every song you put out is good. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. How do I come up with them? Well, it's my job, so I kind of have to, right? But I push myself, and they're not always good. And I try to go to the studio, and I try not to put so much pressure on myself, even though I do. And I just, if you write enough songs, the odds are one or two of them will be good. And then you push yourself to write so you can get to the good ones, and then you get to the good ones, and then you try again, and then you hope you have enough good ones to make an album. That's how I do it. When I look at the titles of the albums, I feel like you're telling a story. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I try to have the album's titles encapsulate the theme of the record. And on this last record, Uncommentary was supposed to be a play on words, like the word uncommon and commentary. So it's supposed to be like my uncommon commentary. I don't know if it really came across that way, but that's what it means. And I feel like I'm telling some stories on the record and taking some risks and trying some new things. So I'm talking about, some philosophical and political ideas, I feel like I'm talking about some things that maybe people don't necessarily talk about all the time. So in that regard, I feel like it's uncommon, and it's also a commentary.
Go back to the start now, time doesn't slow down. I'm on my own, guess my childhood is over now. I'm taking down my posters and I'm putting all my things inside a box next to a toaster. That's my closest thing to closure. I can't, no, I'm not ready to get older, I'm not. I guess my childhood is over now. I'm taking out my posters and I'm telling all my friends we'll get together next October. That's my closest thing to closure. I can't stop this roller coaster. I'm not ready to get older. I'm not to get older.
My last comment to my Korean fans is one of the most enjoyable trips and shows I've ever played was the first time I came here in 2019, and one of my biggest fears was that people would forget about me over the 2 or 3 years that the pandemic lasted. And I was thinking, like, what if I never get the opportunity to come back? And I appreciate you guys remembering me and having me back. And I really enjoyed it last time I was here, but I feel like I didn't realize how quickly those things could be taken away. And so I don't take it for granted that I'm actually back here again and doing the thing that I love. So hopefully I can come back and for years to come.
You're sure you can change him, but I know you won't. The devil doesn't bargain.